Rolling action.
If you just have a curious mind and you have the ability to learn, you can do this business. Be curious, ask questions, don't feel afraid to. It's fine. You'll be a slightly smarter fool. Every day presents new opportunities. It's technical, it's emotional, it's stressful, and at the end of the day, everybody wants to just have their home as quickly as possible. Quality
Just
of
call
life.
it home, not
Yeah.
like a matchbox like people call it.
Social media has sort of changed the paradigm in the way real estate is marketed. Instagram is, the virtual billboard. Channel partner is more like a family member,
Yeah.
than an agent. That is something which no algorithm from
Can
Silicon
have,
Valley
yeah.
can replace.
If you weren't in the real estate industry, what alternative profession do you see yourself working in? See, we are here. Why are people living
Life
in
is
South
here.
Mumbai? They should come and live in Bandra West.
It's good to be smart. It's very bad to be over smart.
Welcome back to the Real Estate Jam. Today, our guest is very special. He's the director of the Dynamix Group. He's the third gen real estate developer. And we've had so much to talk with him, you can't even imagine. We spoke about the emerging hubs in Mumbai. We spoke about the toughest market to crack and whatnot. So stick along and watch the whole episode and subscribe. Hi Jay, thank you for joining us. We are very excited for this show. So to start with, let's talk about your journey. So what's your journey been like in the real estate industry?
So how I got into the industry?
Yeah, how did you get into, how it's going for you, what you love about it the most, everything.
Yeah. Okay, so I got into it, I was exposed to it, I would say, as a child when I was born. My grandfather did it, my father does it. So I was a feature that was, almost a relatively often fixture around the office, not feature, sorry. And yeah, interacted with a number of people then as a little child who continue to be with us and working with us today, and just saw my dad and grandfather do what they did. So I was exposed to this business right from day zero, and yeah, went through school, college, graduated, tried to work elsewhere for a little bit, and circumstances then brought me back to Mumbai and back to this business. So I joined after graduating from university in 2013,
Okay.
and in July 2013, almost 11 years
Been
ago
a
now.
long time,
My
yeah.
gosh. And yeah, just been sort of learning and doing what I can since then. So every day presents a fresh challenge. Every day presents new opportunities to grow, new opportunities to learn, and yeah, it's an exciting business. It's a business that I find very fulfilling because it's technical, it's emotional, it's stressful. So it gives you the whole gamut of feelings right from the inception of a project, where there's a huge deal of excitement when you're drawing up plans, then the sort of butterflies in your stomach when it's time to launch,
Yeah.
the sort of stressful moments when you're in the authorities and they're in the municipality and they're telling you this won't work and that won't work, and you're
Yeah.
having to redraw stuff, and then of course the day-to-day active management of building the project, and then and the elation that you get when you see your customers take possession of these very, very, very important assets that we're building for them. So yeah, full spectrum of emotion. Very exciting business, and yeah, been exposed to it since I was a very little boy. So
Yeah. So do you see yourself being in this business for longer ever, or do you think you're going to take a shift somewhere, or do you just want to be here and enjoy it? Or,
I mean, I like what I do.
yeah.
I hope to continue doing it for a long time. Never say never, though.
Yeah.
So you don't never know what the future holds.
Yeah.
But yeah, for the moment, no desire to do anything other than this.
Okay, that's great. So the next question is, like, you've delivered so many successful projects with the Dynamix Group, and what value do you wish to provide your customers with each project, and what makes you different from the other players in this industry?
So very important disclaimer.
Yeah.
Dynamix Group may have delivered a lot. I have not delivered very much.
Okay.
I delivered one project. My
Okay.
first project was delivered in February of 2023.
Okay.
I hope to deliver many, many more. Few more on the cards to be delivered this calendar year as well. What I can say is that what do I think we do that will add value to our customers' lives? So there's a few things, and no real complexity there, because fundamentally what we're building is a straightforward thing. We try to build good looking buildings
Yeah.
because that gives our customers a sense of pride.
Yes.
We try to build fast because that, from our perspective, is something that's value accretive. From our customers' perspective, it's also confidence inspiring. And at the end of the day, everybody wants to just have their home as quickly as possible.
That is true.
So the quicker we build it, the better it is for everyone concerned, including predominantly for our customers. We try to also build spaces that are meaningful and are spaces that people can sort of thrive in and live well in. By that I mean, there was a time very recent, I mean, in very soon after I joined the business, where luxury residential real estate was very heavily supplied. There were challenges in that market segment, and we saw this race to sort of miniaturize the home. Everybody was making the home smaller and smaller and smaller, almost like the shrinkflation that we saw in grocery stores. Reducing the size of the offering, but keeping the price the same, thereby enhancing the per square foot realization. That was a trend that a lot of people were guilty, including us, were guilty of falling prey to. But what I realized, or what I believe, and the jury's still out. Like I said, I've only delivered one project, but I believe that it's difficult for somebody to meaningfully have a high quality life in those kinds of very tiny spaces. At the end of the day, a human being is whatever between 5 and 6 feet tall, or and 3 feet wide. There's
need a
only
basic
you
space,
need basic space, right? So what we try to do is try to build spaces that people can move about in, people can live meaningfully in. We try to give customers balconies, which I think will add a great deal to their
Just
quality
call
of
it
life.
home, not like a matchbox like people call it.
Correct. So that's one of the things that we try to do, and give people sensible amenities. There was also a trend that I saw, wherein there was an approach to sort of add a big laundry list of amenities. Some amenities that were not really of much value, but just made it interesting on the marketing collateral. We won't do that. We don't do that. We'll give people what we believe is going to be used and will add to their quality of life. So yeah, these are the few things. We try to price our homes fairly. We don't want to be at the upper end of the market.
Yeah, affordability is
Yeah,
a
we
major
don't want to
plus.
be at the bottom end of the market either. We want to service sort of the big middle segment of the market.
Yeah.
And yeah.
So now when we talk about markets in Mumbai, so which market according to you is the most difficult to crack when it comes to MMR region? Like which is the most difficult right now?
South Mumbai.
South Mumbai?
Not now. I think always.
Yeah.
Why is it a difficult market? I mean, there's demand there, sure. Supply is difficult to bring on. It's a lot of it that's currently there. Anecdotally, when I drive around the city, I see a lot of under construction projects, and that gives me pause. So I am, which is why I believe that South Mumbai is a tough market. Plus, it's a luxury market, and the quantum of customers that are there to buy that volume of stock is limited.
Yeah.
Which is why these projects, and of course the projects are a lot more expensive. They're more expensive in terms of land. They're more expensive in terms of construction costs. They're just more difficult to build, which all requires a very highly disciplined approach. Number one, from the developer's perspective, and a very, very, very hefty size and balance sheet, which makes South Mumbai developments as difficult as they are, and which is why only a few very strong and large names actually thrive in that market, and a lot of others are not able to crack it. So these are really the answers as to why, what makes it an attractive market and what makes it a difficult market at the same time.
Yeah. I think we know why now. Thank you for that answer. So at Jugyah, like we really believe in the power of social media.
Yeah.
Like we get a lot of organic leads. People appreciate seeing the houses through, Instagram reels, through all of that. So according to you, do you think this social media approach now in real estate is going to be beneficial, or like the old school, broker to the client direct was better, or some light on social media and how it will be impactful for real estate?
So yeah, I mean, to quickly answer your question, yes, social media has sort of changed the paradigm in the way real estate is marketed in at least the city of Mumbai.
Yeah.
And from what I have personally experienced. And the reason for that is simple, right? Of course, you have credibility that's imbibed within a product through influencers and
Yeah.
endorsing it, right? So that is of course something that's important, where people are staking to some extent their credibility on the product when they are talking about it online and talking about it to their followers. They wouldn't do it if, I mean, a lot of people wouldn't do it if they weren't convinced with the product itself, and that is a very sticky form of marketing. It's a very powerful form of marketing. So that, for one, is explains sort of the sort of rising dominance of social media. The other thing is, look, Google, Facebook, Instagram, they have some of the smartest people in the world working for
Yeah.
them. They're writing the most intelligent code. They have all the stuff that I don't even understand going on behind the scenes,
Yeah.
which enables them to really accurately and in a very powerful way target the customer. So your marketing rupees go a lot further on those platforms than they did in traditional
Yeah.
media. So yes, I think social media is very powerful. It's very impactful on when you actually do paid marketing, when you use influencers, and then of course Instagram is the virtual billboard. So
Yeah.
people are looking at your reels and you're always top of
Gives us
mind
more
when.
visibility. You reach a lot more
Absolutely.
people than you would generally one on
That's it.
one.
That's it.
So the
And
visibility changes the game.
that being said, I don't think anything can replace the
Yes.
channel partner.
Yeah.
They are fundamentally important to our business. With a lot of people buying real estate, their channel partner is more like a family member,
Yeah.
than an agent, right? And they too have been operating in this market for years, sometimes multiple generations,
Yeah.
and are also staking their credibility on a product, also know the pulse of the environment very well.
Yeah.
The people who can make or break a real estate project.
Yeah.
And they face the customer in the best times, and they also, the good ones, face the customers in the worst
Worst
times
time.
as well. And that is something which no algorithm from
Can
Silicon
crack.
Valley
Yeah.
can replace.
Yeah, that's what also we believe in, that buying a house, property is emotional. Like you buy a house, you have emotions involved in it,
Absolutely.
so you can't play with it. Okay, so let's talk about suburbs a bit. Which suburbs are currently, according to you, offering the best combination of affordability and future growth potential?
I think Mira Road and Bhayandar.
Yeah.
Mira Road, Bhayandar are, to my mind, the markets that have excellent affordability and have great potential for growth and at least value preservation.
Mumbai is a city with like a lot of potential in real estate. We all know that. That's why we're here in Bombay
Yeah.
and not operating somewhere else. So let's say in the coming 5 years, which are the next top 3 emerging areas in Mumbai that you think will have tremendous growth?
Again, Mira Road
Yeah.
and Bhayandar, because of the unified development control and promotion regulations, they will sort of change things quite a bit in that area. You'll see a lot of growth, my personal belief. You'll also see a good amount of demand because of the enhanced and excellent infrastructure that's connecting the city to that suburb. And the other part of town that I particularly am quite sort of intrigued and excited by is Bandra East.
Yeah.
Because with the Dharavi redevelopment coming
Yeah.
close by, and of course the nerve center of the city being in BKC, I think that entire area is going to be quite wonderful, and you see a lot of very nice new buildings coming up over there. big ones with excellent amenities close to the central business
Yeah.
district that is BKC. So I think that's a market, an area to look out for. And the area that is also, I think, very exciting. I don't know. I can't speak to growth potential. I can't speak to price appreciation because, most of the times we're wrong. But the area that I think is most interesting from a urban planning perspective currently is the Worli area, because of what's happening with the race course, or the erstwhile race course, and now the race course and Central Park, and of course the gardens that have been generated through the coastal road and that entire sort of central belt of the city. I think that'll be very, very exciting as well.
So when we see, considering the long development cycle, we witness, specific customer behaviors. So for example, let's talk about the pandemics that hit. Because of that, people want bigger office spaces, balconies, like you spoke about, in their houses and everything. So do you think it's going to continue, or we're going to still go back to the smaller spaces? Or developments are coming out now, they are concentrating on bigger spaces, layouts, everything to cater to that specific behavior of customers? Or do you think because of the space crunch and everything, we're going to eventually go back to...
With home preferences, they're very sticky. So if people are looking to buy a larger flat, because of this sort of very unfortunate events of the pandemic, then I think that's going to be a trend that we see for a while. And the miniaturization of flats and the froth that we saw in that space prior to the pandemic, I think, was a function more of markets than of preferences.
I wanted to understand what exactly is inclusive and accessible design, like you spoke about.
Inclusive design, from what I understand the question to be, is with respect to making our buildings and making our developments friendly to differently abled people. And though that is actually, it's a codal requirement. We're required by law to have ramps, to have grab bars, to have larger bathrooms at a specific frequency to cater to people who are differently abled. And every project is mandated to do that. And we do. You'll see ramps next to staircases. You'll see stretcher lifts. You'll see bigger toilets with handrails and things like that, to cater to this requirement. That being said, inclusiveness is a far bigger term, and there are things that a building society can do to make the approach of the build, or make the entire building itself and the society therein more inclusive. One such example, that immediately springs to my mind is, a lot of times the sort of household help and domestic staff, they are not allowed to use the common elevators. They're not allowed to use the common lobbies. They've got this sort of the service lift, which is one that is usually for goods movement and for external workers and people who are have very specific requirements. It's for them, and a lot of times the building societies will ask the drivers, the household staff, people who live in your home with you, a lot of times to be treated differently. And I think that's something which we can do better on as a society. I think that is something that should change.
We need to change that. I hope we move towards that change very soon.
I hope so
we
too.
need that. So what innovations are you seeing in the residential real estate development, which you think like they're transforming the industry? Like are there any innovations that you're very
Gosh, I don't have any social media.
Okay.
I stay far away from it generally, as a rule. And I would have deleted my WhatsApp as well, but things would go really out of hand for me. So you should tell me actually what I need to be looking for.
You should follow Jugyah on Instagram, because
I know that you guys are doing excellent work.
So we try to also do the listings on our platform, but we also keep people updated with the new laws that come into real estate, the new innovations, the tech, the prop tech, everything.
But one thing that I do see is the authorities making a very, very, very meaningful shift to being online. And sort of project management and project appraisal happens now through a digital system. They've got an automatic DCR system that
Yes.
basically you feed in the plans and it tells you the approvability or not
Yeah.
of those plans, and it just makes the entire process a lot
Simpler.
quicker and simpler for us as a real estate developer, and also for the officer, you know, who
Yeah.
ultimately is saved so much time and so much scope for human error. You know, I truly commend our authorities for making that shift.
Yeah. Coming to that part, are there any upcoming infrastructural developments that excite you? Like you're really looking forward to something that's coming up or is being built?
We touched on this before: the Coast Road extension, the operations of the metro, the Goregaon Mulund Link Road. I mean,
Yes.
these are all things that will, like a light bulb, just illuminate our lives once they
Yeah.
come on.
It's gonna change everything.
It's going to be absolutely fantastic.
So now we had a chat about all of this. So let's add a fun element to it. Let's go to a rapid fire round where
Sure.
I'll just ask you really pretty basic questions. You just give the answer that you like. Okay. A book you would suggest budding entrepreneurs to read.
Good to Great by Jim Collins.
Okay. I have to order it now. A building or monument in Mumbai that you feel is an architectural marvel. Like,
CST.
oh, yeah, actually. If you weren't in the real estate industry, what alternative profession do you see yourself working in?
Academia.
Okay, we get it. We kind of get it. So suggest me neighborhoods to live in Mumbai if I am a foodie.
Bandra West.
Yes. Love shopping.
Either Bandra East near the two new amazing Geo malls, or Bandra West, depending on the kind of shopping you want to do.
Okay. Love nature.
Goregaon, so you're close
East.
to RA.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And fitness enthusiast.
Bandra West.
See, we are here. Why are people living
Life
in
is
South
here.
Mumbai? They should come and live in Bandra West. So if somebody wants to get into real estate and start a career in real estate, what certifications, what education do you think they should have to kind of get into it in a well-structured way?
I don't think you need any any very specific technical expertise to be a real estate developer. Of course, you need a lot of technical expertise to be an engineer or an
Yeah.
architect or a designer, but I think to be a real estate developer, it's not fundamentally that important, because if you just have a curious mind and you have the ability to learn, you can do this business. It's not very complex in terms of the content that you have to go through. What is complex is the number of moving parts that we have to manage as real estate developers, and that is, just have a curious mind, read widely, right? Get your hands on regulations, get your hands on law, read that, because that is one of the aspects of our business that keeps things in a state of flux a lot.
Yeah.
That being said, things have changed in the past since I joined the business, and it's very much more stable now as a
Yeah.
business, and which is why you see these amazing projects coming up at speed. Pursue a degree in law if that is of interest to you. Otherwise, I think finance is interesting as well,
Yeah.
because the way that real estate projects are funded is unique, especially in a city like Mumbai, and a finance mind may be able to extract more value than
Yeah,
a
so-
non-finance person. But yeah, other than that, just read widely, be curious, ask questions, don't feel afraid to be the fool. It's fine. You'll be a slightly smarter fool by asking the question than by then continuing to be an ignorant fool.
Yeah. So yeah, curious mind is what
Yeah.
we take. So, but apart from the certification and everything, what is that one work ethic that is needed to build a big, huge business? You know, that one non-negotiable ethic or moral you should have when you're going towards this industry.
I mean, I think I'm probably asking the wrong person, because I still have a very long way to go.
But still,
with
till
my
now, what
business.
you've noticed or in your family,
If
what you've seen.
if I see people who I really look up to, and I were to pick up a singular quality that I think contributes disproportionately to their success, I would say is tenacity. So just like, you face adversity all the time, and it's about how tenaciously and how strongly you get back up and learn from those setbacks. So I think that is the singular most powerful skill that I've seen, a powerful trait that I've seen, contribute to people who I admire.
Okay. Coming to the last question that we have, which is what we always want people to know about. So, till your tenure, what are the 3 lessons that you've learned in this industry that really helped you and will help you in the future to stick for a longer while, grow in this industry? 3 takeaways.
Be honest in the way that you deal with people, especially your customers, anyone. I mean, I think honesty is binary, right?
Yeah.
You either are or you are not. Um, Deal with a very high degree of integrity and honesty, because you know it will, by as a rule, be better for you in the long run and better for your business. The second is be smart. Don't be, you know work intelligently. There's no replacement for hard work, but you can work smart. When you're dealing with people also, be intelligent in the way that you deal with them, be highly respectful in the way that you deal with them. I think even more important than being super intelligent in the way that you deal,
Respectful.
it's good to be smart, it's very bad to be over smart. A lot of people sometimes you know underestimate their counterparty, and I think uh, that is a very arrogant position to take, and will end up costing you a lot more. And
Yeah.
segueing from that, be humble. Be humble in the face of your shortcomings. Be humble in the face of adversity, and be humble in the face of when you're received with a huge amount of success. But yeah, these are the things that sort of I've learned, and I understand the irony of talking about being humble.
Yeah.
But yeah, that these are sort of the sort of 3 takeaways that I would leave you with.
Thank you
Yeah.
so much. And we've had a very, very great time having these conversations with you.
Thank you.
We got a lot of things to learn. We got a lot of knowledge. I hope
Yeah.
this helps our audience as well.
Thank you. I hope
So
so
thank you
too.
so much for
Thank you
being a
for
part
having
of
me.
this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a
And
pleasure to be here.
yes. So thank you for sticking along through the whole episode. I hope you enjoyed it as much as we enjoyed making it for you. So if you liked the episode, please show us some love and support. So hit the like button, subscribe our channel for more such amazing videos.